You betcha. Good afternoon, world. It is moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. We're broadcasting live from our palatial studio in downtown Waxahachie in the shadows of the Ellis County Courthouse. And what are we broadcasting live? Grit and Good News, now in its 58th episode today. And I'm your co host, Jeff Lynch. This is our man at the producer. Hey, I got a new thing to tell you about your haircut, Sam. It's it's one of the iterations of Luca's.
Yeah,
Remember,
it is. Yeah,
Luca
yeah.
had so many.
Luca had hair that went every which way but straight.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. It looks.
but he had
It's
different fades all the time and
yeah.
different amounts. So this is the Luca iteration right here for our man Sam Brooks and my man Scott
Thank you,
Brooks.
brother.
He's your host. He'll take over for a little bit.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to Grit and Good News. Today is Tuesday. We are thrilled to be here. It is a beautiful day outside. Although, well, there's no although. The heat's coming, which means
The heat is
another complaint season is
uh,
coming.
yeah,
I
true,
feel bad because
true.
I get, it gets to be July and I'm moaning and groaning. August, I'm moaning and groaning more. September, not as much. And then October, November, when it starts getting cold, oh, I just go from one groaning season to the other, and I need to stop that. I just need to be grateful for Texas weather.
Yeah,
So it could be living in one of my second favorite city in the world is Buffalo, uh,
yeah.
where it's probably, you know what? I keep on my phone the Buffalo temperature so I can just take a quick look at it. Right now, today, it's 53.
And I keep you down in Minnesota, where I will be next week, sadly for a funeral
Yeah,
of a great guy.
it's
But
cold up there too.
it's called
So
it's not what we got right here. I'll tell
no,
you
so
that.
welcome. We're glad you're here. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday from noon to 1 Central Standard Time, Texas time. Waxahachie is a beautiful community, our city. It's about 30 miles directly south of downtown Dallas. So in many metros in the country, we'd be considered uh, what do you
Suburb,
call it?
a
Suburb,
ring
a
suburb.
commuter city, whatever, but we're really not. So we love Waxahachie and are very happy to tell you that that's where we do this show from. Uh, we do have a lot to talk about. We have Jeff does our every show. This is our 58th
Mm,
show, so we're getting to a point where not well. We're gonna get into the 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s where
We'll
at
be
least on
full.
football there'll be more.
We'll be full.
But Jeff talks about numbers of famous players that have the same number as the show that we're on, the episode that we're on. So what about 58?
58. We have the great Jack Lambert who could put a hit on you for the Steelers.
He had the
Uh,
teeth of a something
he's in Canton.
chainsaw.
He's
Yeah,
in the Canton Hall. He was Super Bowl winners 9, 14, and 10. So he's got 3 rings. If you're the you can't have 5. Who who got the one for the thumb?
well, Brady has one for the thumb.
Yeah, but one of the Pittsburgh guys,
Oh yeah, I don't know
he
which
used
one.
one of the
Yeah,
linemen, I think. Uh, and Chris Letang wore this number
yeah, play for the
for
Penguins.
he played his whole career for the Penguins,
Yep.
and I looked it up. He said when I was in junior hockey, which is that's where you really go now. I mean, even now in the U.S., junior hockey is the thing. That's
Yeah.
the stepping stone. That's the top amateur. He said nobody else had it.
He wore it then too.
Yeah,
Number
and so
58.
then when he went to the Penguins, he wanted it too.
Yeah.
And here's why am I wearing the jersey that I'm wearing right now?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Chris Letang had 2 strokes as a player and came back and he won one of the great trophies, a yearly honor in hockey, and it has nothing to do with stats. And it's called the Bill Masterton Award,
Mm,
and it's for perseverance.
yeah.
And Bill Masterton, God rest his soul, passed away in the Dallas in the Minnesota North Stars inaugural season of '67 or in '68, and he died on the ice in January of '68, 2 days after he fell and hit his head on the ice and cracked it open pretty good.
Mm,
And that was the beginning of helmet rules at all level.
yeah.
At that point, I started wearing it at youth level, and every
Yeah. It's
every
hard to
game of
imagine.
hockey I've ever played, other than down at the park, has been with a helmet.
Yeah.
And
All right,
so
who else on 58?
that's it.
That's
Short
it?
list. Good
All
story,
right,
short
well,
list.
so that said, a couple of other updates we want to give you. Let me first start with playoff results. We know that the Stars had a big night last night. They started out a little wobbly, got
Right.
behind, stayed behind by one goal, and then it was in overtime, wasn't
It
it?
was in
Yeah.
overtime. It was deep in overtime. There was
Yeah, it
about three
was.
minutes left.
And I'm telling you, overtime hockey, while on one hand it's really, really exciting, on the other hand, it can be boring as all get out because nobody wants to make a mistake.
So much caution.
Yeah, so this this young kid, Blackwell,
Hmm.
scores his goal, and I mean, can you imagine what he is experiencing today? I mean, they're playing probably the second best team in hockey, and
That goal was so pretty. I can close my eyes and still
yeah,
remember it. It was late at night. He got that puck and he started going hard to his right and he shot it low back against the grain to the left
yeah,
and he gets it and the goalie makes a big save and he walks around the defenseman.
he did. It was
He
weird.
walks around the defenseman didn't know where that rebound was. He
Yeah,
walks around this guy
he
and
kind of juked him.
he
Yeah,
one times his own rebound
yeah, right up
in the net. It was
Right up
so
where
sweet.
Rick Red of the Sabres used to say, "Where Mama hides the cookies."
Yeah.
Hey Terry, hey Chuck, great to have you guys with us. So we've got some exciting hockey on the way. The Stars play tomorrow night in Colorado,
Right.
so we're going to keep track of that. Sammy, do you want to say something?
I wanted to, since we're on playoffs, it's a different sport, different team, but you're not gonna like this. The Detroit Pistons,
One,
since first playoff game since 2008, last year winning only 14 games.
isn't that something?
That's pretty
Yeah,
incredible. It's pretty
yeah. From a
incredible.
coach, what's interesting about that is that coach they have was fired by the Cavaliers last year,
Oh
goes
wow.
to Detroit and is probably the coach of the
Yeah,
year, and the person that replaced him in Cleveland is up for coach of the
that's
year.
cool.
Quite the story.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we got playoffs. It's a great sports time of the year. Update on the Frisco murder of the young man at the track meet. It's gotten absurd. If you saw the uh, press conference last week from the family of the suspect, it was hideous.
That's old news though.
Well, it's old news, but still, I want to make sure people know about it. It's just hideous. If you haven't seen it, you ought to watch it. They got as their spokesperson this Al Sharpton wannabe race baiter who's got a rap sheet as long as my arm, and he couldn't articulate anything, but was up there trying to
And a
defend the
tremendous
suspect.
self promoter.
Yeah, trying to defend the suspect. They threw out the interesting part of that press conference was that the father of the victim showed up
Yeah.
and was escorted out. So sadly, it's become what many things in America like this have become, and that is we got it backwards. We're after the victim and protecting the suspect, and it's shameful, it's ridiculous, and again, I find it to be hideous. Uh, Also, another story that's brewing. We'll have a report on it as soon as the facts are given to us from both the Midlothian Police Department and Midlothian Independent School District. But a young teacher or teacher's aide or both, not really sure. That's why we got to get all this straightened out. But had an altercation with a young 6 or 7 year old little boy who's got some challenges. It became somewhat aggressive, physically aggressive. And again, there's so much going on Facebook. I know the Dallas media does what they do. Came into Waxahachie, swooped in for a little story, talked to the mother. They don't have any of the facts. They're just clickbaiting it. And the mother was on last night and was talking about how her son was abused and beat up and showed pictures and blah blah blah. We happen to know the young teacher, uh, and again, we're going to reserve reporting on it or discussing it in detail till we have the facts. But it doesn't match up with what we know, what we're also hearing. So there's a lot to come on that. But again, the Dallas media. I just I disdain the media, any media that comes in for a swoop and then leaves. It's like they're like human tornadoes. They come in, do their damage, and then take off. And that's what they're doing here. They did it with the Mississippi Beaver story. They're doing it with this story. They're doing it with the Frisco story. And so we're going to reserve the quality of a community newspaper can be found in its willingness to make sure we only report facts. So we'll have more on that to come later. And then the other update I want to share with you, it's more of a tease, but in tomorrow's Waxahachie Sun on the front page, almost all the front page will be about some rather significant changes we are making at the company. We have tried to honor the traditional newspaper model with what is now a society that's moved on from that, but there's enough of our society locally that warranted us doing it kind of the old-fashioned way, some of it anyway. So we have a story that outlines all the changes we're making. Uh, some will be happy, some will be angry, some will be sad, some will be glad, but we're simply trying to adjust and calibrate to the way that people digest, consume news and content, and including this kind of content. So we're going to have that all laid out in a rather long story tomorrow, but it requires length in order to tell the whole story. So more to come there. If you'll check it out, front page, can't miss it. Lead story, page 1. Terry says NFL draft week. I forgot that. Yep. So Sammy, I know, gets into it, and so I think it's fair to say that Cam Ward's going to go number 1 to the Tennessee Titans, but then the mystery begins.
Dallas paper
It's
this morning had the Cowboys at number 12, taking that wide receiver out of Texas.
yeah,
What's his
yeah,
last
yeah,
name?
yeah. I
Is
know who
it
you're talking about, but
Golden, maybe?
yeah, Golden. That's
Well,
him. Yep.
what kind of name is
Yeah.
that? How kind of good is that? That's his last
Go.
name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes
Well,
back
you're
to
set your whole life if you're golden, aren't
yeah.
you?
Well,
How
remember we
sweet.
had a wide receiver.
Golden
And
Richards.
that's right.
Yeah.
Years ago, passed away.
That's a sweet last name or first name.
So anyway, there's your update. Now we're going to shift into some really interesting news that's floating around out in America. So we talk about politics on this show, and I write about politics often. I think it's, as I've said before, it's hard to avoid politics. Politics is really a key part of American fabric these days in terms of society. It used to be we could segregate it or isolate it and say that's just politics. We don't have to worry about it. It doesn't really, we don't. It's all right. People do the right thing. But because it's become so volatile, because of the hate for Trump, because of social media and a mass media that's gone berserk, is biased, and they know it. They talk about how biased they are themselves. So
And,
it's
and we're getting caught up. We're going down with the media swirl here too. Because I'm going to tell you what, partner,
yeah,
you picked this segment, but remember this, people. Out of all the things going on in the world right now, we're talking about who the Democrats going to run for president in 28.
yeah.
That's the most important thing on our menu. It's our lead topic. Okay, let's go.
Well, it's our lead topic, except for the ones we just went through.
Right.
But the reason it's a topic is because I can't get my head around the fact that as we sit here in April 2025, and the race for the 2028's already started.
Right.
They never end. We got the midterms in 2026, but for 2028, if you can believe it, the polls show right now that the leading candidate on the Democrat side for president of the United States is the one and only OC. What's her first name?
Alexandria
Alexandria
Ocasio Cortez.
Cortez. So we have this young lady who was a bartender just 3 or 4 years ago. It's now being touted as being
And
the
an activist.
candidate, yeah, a socialist, the candidate for the left Democrats as it stands now in the polls. Now that'll all change as time goes on, but I can't I can't if I was a Democrat and my party said this is who we think right now as we see things, this is who we're going to put up there. I'd say, uh,
Cash me out.
adios,
Cash
adios.
me out.
Yeah, I'm done. I just cannot believe it. As Chuck says, Bernie Sanders and AOC are touring the country. Now
And there's what was the name of that tour? It's the craziest name.
it's oligarch,
Oh,
oligarch,
stop
something like that. The
stop
oligarchy.
oligarchy. Yeah.
Sammy doesn't know how to spell oligarchy. I don't even know how to spell. How you spell it, Sammy? Uh-huh. Yeah,
Oh,
because you don't know.
Oligarchy. O oligarchy.
Ol,
He,
ol,
O
ol,
L I G
he
A
he
R
gets on me because I
C
can't
H
spell.
Y.
C-H-Y.
Oligarchy. Yeah, it's
I
hard.
tried.
That's why you're right, Chuck. But anyway, so we have the oldest socialist in America. He's got to be pushing 80 years old. Sammy, see how old Bernie Sanders is. So the oldest socialist in America,
With
self-proclaimed socialist.
36-year-old America's sweetheart.
Is she 36? Yeah, something like
that's
that.
my math. Yeah,
And
she's born in
the
'89.
youngest on a national level that we know of, I don't know how old Jasmine is. I think she's older than that. But the
Not
youngest
much.
and the oldest socialist in America are on a tour about oligarchy. And both of them have become millionaires on $175,000 salaries. He's 80. Bernie Sanders is 83 freaking years old, and he's on a tour with Andrea Cortez
Hell yeah.
and about fighting oligarch
Oligarchy.
yeah, oligarchs and oligarchy in America, which really doesn't exist. I mean, who can say that it does? But I don't think it does. I mean, we want to talk about oligarchs. We can look
It's
at the
power held by the few.
yeah, which was isn't. I mean, the power held by the few. We just had a landslide election. I would say the power rests with the American people
Well,
when it comes to when
and
it
they're a fickle bunch. We know that.
well, we do know that, but I mean, if you want oligarchy, look at Putin, look at Ukraine, look at
Hmm.
all those countries. But that's what they're running on. That's their platform. And 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people are showing up. Do you
What?
think more than five of those people know what they're at, why they're at that event, or what
No.
the issue is? I bet not.
When I looked her up for a little background, socialist is not what she's called.
What is she called?
You ready for this one?
Yeah,
American Progressive.
American Progressive. There you go.
American Progressive. That's that sounds like something good,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Oh,
that's the
I
point
like
of
the
it.
sound. I like the sound of
That's the
that.
point of it.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
mean,
gosh, American Progressive.
imagine, yeah, when you think about that, a lot of life
Yeah,
is the name they use the name to
yeah.
distract you from what we're really doing.
So I'm giving them props on their
Well, listen,
marketing there.
listen, you and Sammy could run against them, and it'd be a landslide. Y'all would beat them. So as you said earlier, I say as a Republican, maybe those of you watching agree, but I say as a Republican, a conservative, actually, not a Republican, a conservative, I say bring it on. You remember, yeah, I do that with a little bit of hesitation because I still have those videos on my phone where when Trump ran the first time and you got comedians, you got Obama, you got Pelosi, and all of them are like, do it, just do it, run Trump, let him be your nominee. And it's now used to embarrass
Right.
those people. I suspect that it's safe for me to say to AOC and Bernie, particularly AOC and the Democrat, do it,
Oh,
do
bring
it.
it on. Exactly. Of
Do
course.
so Bernie Sanders is 83. When we get to 28, he will be 86. And
He won't go for it.
I was going to say, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to say, wait a minute, I'm about to die any minute now. And I've been trying to be president he's like Biden. He's been trying to be president for 20 years. Uh, and he's going to step aside as they choose her.
You
What's he
know,
going to do?
I think you're brilliant there. And but I will tell you this. I think a Democratic ballot that went Sanders AOC is way more powerful than AOC anything, including Sanders as the second.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
So that's why I'd rather see her go
Well,
alone.
go alone. Yeah. So but who would she choose as her running mate? Let's have some fun. Who, if you had to pick right now,
Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett. Birds of a feather flock together.
Cortez Crockett. Uh, it won't be
CC Ryder.
Jasmine Crockett. They would fight each other. Can you picture them having a press conference? And because one wants to it'd be like two little kids who want to be in the video, and the little brother keeps getting in the way, and the sister's knocking the crap out of him to get him out of the way. That's what they would be
It'd
like.
be a fashion show. I'll give you.
Yeah, I probably would. But
They're good
but I
dresses, the both of them.
seriously, what if we were 28 and the feelings were still the same? I don't think they will be, but let's assume they are. And AOC is the candidate. Who One, I would say, who would she choose? Number two, I would say, who would want that job? Who would want to be the vice president candidate? Because it's never
Yeah,
going to happen.
yeah,
But who would be? There would be candidates lining up. They don't care. They just want the attention.
right.
Um, could it be? uh, It could be another person from the squad. Could it be? I mean, Jamie Rask. These creeps. I mean, what is going on? It just drives me crazy. Chuck says that name is used a lot when it comes to Russian oligarchs, and you'd think the Democrats to stay away from anything that would maybe bring them back to the Russian collusion. Yeah, you're right about that. I think their whole idea is to say we're going to create this fight the oligarchy so that we're making Trump, not only Trump and Elon Musk and the others, not only sound like rich, wealthy control freaks, but that we're also comparing it to Russia.
Right.
And they've already gone down the Hitler thing. That didn't work.
Right.
Now they're wanting to compare Trump to Putin and oligarchs. They cannot help but lose everywhere they go. And now this isn't on the topic, but so we had a golf banquet last night for Ross, which was really good. We got home and I put on Jesse Waters, and they were talking about what was that? Oh, I just lost the topic. They were talking about going to El Salvador.
Okay.
And so now you got three more Democrats. One of them's from Florida, and in
That
an
are all
interview,
going there.
yeah, or down there now. But it wasn't Jesse Waters; it was some other interviewer who said to the guy from Florida, "You're a representative of a district in Florida. Why are you in El Salvador for a dude that supposedly lived in Maryland?" And the guy goes into this speech about, well, we got to protect the Constitution and all this other stuff. But they're now out of all the stuff, all the shaming, all the facts about this dude being a wife beater, MS-13, human trafficker in the country illegally. I don't know what else, tattooed up with MS-13 stuff. After all the shaming of Chris Van Hollen, who went down the other day, there are still people lining up on the left to go to El Salvador. And this same guy from Florida was telling the viewer they don't know they've not been told where the guy is. They can't speak to him. They can't see him. So they're just down there spending taxpayer money.
And buying yourself publicity.
Yeah,
Publis.
and I'm not of the
Pub.
I'm
Big
not of the
pub.
theory that any publicity is bad publicity. What is the saying? All
All
publicity, including
publicity
bad.
is good publicity.
I don't buy that. Because
Publicity.
you could get a lot of publicity by running in your boxers down 77, but it's not the kind of publicity you or Rita want, right? So I don't buy into that.
A fast walk.
Yeah, well, okay, whatever. I'm not buying into that theory, but the point is, from AOC right now, from saying that AOC is their top candidate, to a line of folks on the left going down to El Salvador to protect a man who is the worst among people at the expense of the Maryland or the state, whatever state these representatives are from, their constituents at the expense of their taxpayer dollars. I don't where is somebody in the Democrat Party that says time out? We are committing political suicide here. Where is that person?
Everybody got off that bus.
Doesn't Van Hollen have somebody in his family? My wife would say, Sonia would say, have you lost your mind, Scott? Don't go down there. Don't go down. There's no way she would let me do that. It can't Van Hollen's wife or chief of staff or somebody say this is a bad idea. Can't somebody say to the Democrats saying that AOC is our number one candidate for 2028 right now? Can't somebody say, wait a minute, that's probably not a good idea?
This is a gal that was elected at 27 in 2018 and won in 2022 and 24. And then if she wants that shot in 28, she's got to stay in office. So she'll run again at 26,
Yeah,
at 34, so that at in 28 she can make a run for the presidency at
36. Because she has to be a minimum of
well,
35.
it's 36 right now at 39.
Yeah, okay. So she has to be
At 30,
35 years
yeah,
old.
at 39. And so
So,
then you know what? You have a 5-term congressman who comes from a district. It is a absolute war zone right now,
mhm,
and she's off on her oligarchy tour instead of doing anything. And
yeah,
I do mean anything for those people
I think,
whose district has gone to the
well, to that
mm,
point, there are calls now for, I don't know if it's National Guard or some other law enforcement or military
mhm,
group to come into her district and clean it up. It's
mhm,
become a red light district. It's
mm,
become violent and crime
mm,
ridden.
mm.
It's awful. And here she is on the tour. I just do not understand. So anyway, so there you have it. AOC slash Crockett. So let's just start. You know what? We're going to start today. So those of y'all watching, we're going to start today on Grit and Good News. We are going to start the campaign for AOC Crockett for president, vice president in 2028 for the Democrats. Want to do it?
And we'll give you free interviews on our show
Yeah.
because all our
Yeah.
interviews are
Come on
free.
our show. We'll talk to you.
Come on,
So it's AOC Crockett for Scott and Jeff. Great, good news.
2028.
2028 for the Democrats. And it's likely going to be up against Vance. And he's going to end up with somebody like I think, a Ramaswamy or one of these other young whippersnappers who are tough. Yeah. I mean,
I
can you imagine Vance and AOC having a debate?
could you see Donald Trump walking away from 28 and turning it over to Vance?
Well,
Could you see that happening?
I could see it, but I don't think it's, well, I think it's going to be, look, I'm writing a column tomorrow about, it's really about the psyche. I'm on this kick now, and it's getting great response across the country, but I'm on this kick of saying, let's put aside whether I like him or whether I don't like him. Let's put aside whether the reader likes him or doesn't like him. Let's understand the psyche.
Well, that's a good philosophy.
Okay, so
I'd like to see
understand.
more of that out of you.
Okay,
All right.
so I've been doing it now for about 8 weeks, but let's just consider him, the psyche of Donald Trump. So when you say that what you just said, and others are talking about it, like the Constitution says you can't run but 2 terms as president for president. All right. So Donald Trump is brash about saying the prospects of him running for a third one and having a third term as a president. Now he can't. I don't think he'd run for it, but there are ways where he could become it without running specifically for it. By example, J.D. Vance could run for president uh, and then not win it, and then resign or something and turn it over to Trump as his VP or something like that. So there are ways that can be done.
Yeah.
But the point I have is Trump's psyche is the more brash, the better. It's because it stops people in their tracks and brings all the attention onto what he's doing and saying. I think the column really describes why it is Trump believes that he can have a third term, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
And if he imagine what would happen to the political world, not just the politics of America, but politics around the world, if Trump, however he would do it, actually did it.
Yeah.
And if it were against somebody like an AOC. It's fascinating. All right, so there you have it. AOC Crockett for president, Democrats, 2028. You heard it here first from the Great and Good News boys, Scott and Jeff, and Sammy too.
That's it.
All right, so Waxahachie and Midlothian, Ennis, in what is obviously a coincidence, happen to need a new superintendent for the school districts at the very same time. So they go through their process, which I had the story. Sammy has a story there. Is it up, Sammy? Well, I mean, it's a story that talks about these superintendents, and the way that the superintendents are selected is that sometimes it's dozens of people apply, and they narrow it down over a period of months, and then they get to the lone finalist. The lone finalist is named, which is essentially the same as the hire of the superintendent, but law says you have to give voters 21 days after the lone finalist has been named. You have to give the voters 21 days before it can be made official. So I think we're either in that process now or we're near the end of it for both, if not at the end. But both districts have named their lone finalists. So Waxahachie, in the time that I've been here since 2014, has been through 4 superintendents. I'm not sure about Ennis. But I don't know that I'm suggesting there's anything wrong with this. These are nuances and dynamics involved in both. And I want to set it up as we all know how Jerry Jones goes about hiring people, right? And who he hires. So Jerry Jones, who is obsessed with himself, narcissist, wants to be known as a great general manager, but is the opposite. Instead of going out and hiring the Jimmy Johnsons, modern day Jimmy Johnsons, who
Right.
would do for him what he's so desperate for, and that is win Super Bowls. What does he do? He goes out and he hires men. I mean, Mike McCarthy was an example of somebody that I thought he pushed the limits with, because Mike McCarthy has a degree of success in his background, and I liked Mike McCarthy. But include McCarthy, consider the others that Jerry Jones has hired in the past 15 years. all of them have been mediocre, considered mediocre at best,
Right.
seemingly controllable.
Seemingly.
Controllable.
Well, I
Okay,
understood.
I'm just being nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm being kind.
Well, that's the essence of it all.
Yeah, I mean, if
Is
I'm Jason Garrett, I would be saying, well, he didn't control me, but okay. So I'm being kind.
okay.
All right. Uh, so Jerry Jones hires those he can puppet, right?
Malleable.
Exactly. So he's a puppeteer. All right. So keep that as the context. So we have a school district that has been through uh, on short stints, relatively short stints. We have a school district in Waxahachie that ends up going through this process. We're a school district of 11,000 kids, dynamic, building a brand new 3,000 plus school, high school. We've got all these other constructions underway. We've got all kinds of great things happening. I really appreciate all of that. And so if I were just to ask either you or Sammy or anybody listening, consider 11,000 dynamic school district just south of Dallas. That's relatively strong, if not real strong, but obviously with faults. And they're going to go out and find a new superintendent. What kind of superintendent do you think they would need to find? What kind of experience would that person need to have? Bless you. What kind of experience would that school superintendent need to have to become a viable option for the Waxahachie Independent School District? Any thoughts on that?
Previous tenures, previous successful tenures of a minimum of 10 years, and in each case, Waxahachie or Ennis, in a district, at least 80% of the size of each
Okay.
district.
You agree with that, Sam? Yeah. So if we were
That's
so
just pulling out
okay. So if we owned the Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
we would say that we would be wise enough to say we want a coach who has if you use 80%, whatever, has won 70% of his games, 60% of his games, has Super Bowl experience, maybe has we'd love it if somebody has won a Super Bowl, but at least they would have Super Bowl experience, so on and so forth. Um, I agree with you.
But instead, in every case, he gives a person the biggest job of their life to date. Even Barry Switzer.
Yes.
But Barry
Well,
Switzer coming off the coach,
yeah.
he'd had some college championships,
Well,
but to
yeah.
take over the Dallas
Well,
Cowboys,
look, I could list them. Dave Campo.
I mean, you can even go back to Jerry Jones to Jimmy Johnson in the first place.
Yeah, well,
All he'd done is win at Miami,
yeah,
right?
but yeah,
College,
and he proved to be an outstanding hire. So
yeah,
Jerry Jones had the model.
right.
But when you think about the Cowboys, you think about Dave Campo, you think about Barry Switzer, think about
Bill Parcells
Bill Parcells was more the Jerry Jones
was the
type.
highest level of any of them
Yeah, but
they
who was
picked.
Wade Phillips?
Phillips, Coach Donut.
Then we had Jason Garrett.
I'm sorry, Coach Cupcake.
We had Jason Garrett. Then we went to Mike McCarthy, and not in this order. I'm sure I'm
Yeah.
missing some. And then we have now
Schottenheimer.
Schottenheimer. So Schottenheimer.
Son of a son.
So just saying using what you just said, if you're on the board of the Waxahachie School District and you say, okay, we're 11,000 student, blah blah blah, we're doing all this dynamic stuff, you, you wouldn't you would go out and find somebody, just as you said, somebody that's got experience at least 80% of the size of this school district.
Yeah.
And this new school superintendent, Becky McCutcheon, may be outstanding, and I'm pulling for her. I will want to meet her and spend time with her and get to know her and help her to the extent that we can. But the school district went out and hired somebody who has the experience of a district 2,500 student school district. Now, I'm not saying I don't know, and I haven't spoken to any school board member. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. It's just a dynamic that makes me wonder why is it we have such turnover? And number two, are we now defining our hiring practice as to be similar to the way Jerry Jones does business? I make the argument that when somebody like a Jerry Hollinsworth or Jeremy Glenn or Bonnie Kane, who have been the previous superintendents in my tenure here in Waxahachie, all of them bold personalities, type A, driver mentality, get the job done, going to tell you what I need to tell you, blah, blah, blah. A personality that I try to be myself. Um, they didn't last very long. And so, and Mike McCarthy didn't last very long.
Right.
So Mike McCarthy was the closest one, Bill Parcells and Mike McCarthy, the closest ones in the Cowboy history to be like Jimmy Johnson, in my opinion. They're the closest. And I don't know how long Bill Parcells lasted, but remember when he said, if you want me to make dinner, you got to at least let me buy the groceries. That's what he was saying to Jerry Jones. If you want me to bring you what you want, essentially get out of the dang way and let me coach and
And
win a
who
Super
said that?
Bowl.
Who said that?
Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells. Yeah.
So
That
he didn't
tuna.
stay
What a
very long.
guy.
He didn't stay very long, and Mike McCarthy didn't stay long.
Yeah.
So um, these superintendents, if you're tracking with me here, haven't stayed long. So I want what I wonder about is whether or not they found themselves after being hired in an environment much like the Jerry Jones environment, where in this case the school board wants to control it, wants to be the primary impetus for the things that are being done. And if that's the case, then and that's the way the school board does it. The school board, it seems to me, it makes sense that they would go hire a new superintendent from a very small district, just like Jerry Jones went and hired Brian Schottenheimer.
Sure.
So that's the nuance here I'm
Yeah.
trying to describe. Now let's
What did Ennis do?
yeah, so
Something
let's
similar?
transition.
Okay.
No, so Ennis, which is a school district not as big as ours, I don't know the exact number. Um, it's less than ours. So Ennis goes out and hires a superintendent from Prosper. Now, Prosper is a big school district.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously part of the Metroplex. It's a dynamic.
Its name is a reflection exactly of what
Yeah,
that town is about
yeah.
too.
So what you feel
What a
when you hear
coincidence,
it
huh?
is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, and this guy was the lone finalist, chosen from a whole list of people. And so Ennis, in my opinion, and I'm just being the armchair quarterback here. Ennis is doing it the way
Yeah.
that, let's say, the Pittsburgh Steelers do it, or pick any other team that has a great coach that gets out of the way. Look at San Francisco. Look at uh, who won the Super Bowl last year. Look at Kansas City is a good
Kansas
example. I
City.
don't like them, but they get out of. They don't. You think that owner tells Andy Reid how to do things?
Right.
Not a chance.
Right.
Uh, Philadelphia Eagles. There's a bold owner. Yeah.
San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco is an ownership group that basically lets Shanahan. He works closely with the
Yeah.
GM, but in their case, they hire a GM
Right.
who John Lynch, who runs the show. So, what's interesting to me here, and the reason I put this on our set list is because I think Ennis Ennis in terms of their hiring process is doing it much like sports teams that achieve great results do.
Mm-hmm.
Waxahachie is following, and again, I am not trying to be critical. I love these people in the school district. I love the school board for the most part. I care about them. I want this with this new superintendent to be really successful. I'm just saying from my vantage point, the dynamic here is that the school district of Waxahachie is following the Jerry Jones game game plan, uh, playbook, so to speak. And I think it's worth us seeing what happens. Obviously, we're going to have to see what happens because I'm not going anywhere. I know you're not going anywhere. And so we got a young lady, I don't know how old she is, but she's coming into the school district. She's coming into it'd be like me coming from
This Becky McCutcheon, you mean? Yeah.
it'd be like me coming from the Waxahachie Sun as publisher to be the publisher of the Dallas Morning News. There are going to be some things in there that are common among
Right.
all newspapers, regardless of size. But when you get to the dynamics of a market
Sure.
like Dallas versus Waxahachie, I'm going to have more experience than Waxahachie to be effective in Dallas. Uh, and so that's another analogy. So there you have it. We'll see what happens with these school districts, but both are growing and both are in need of a lot of great leadership. So we're going to see what happens. Anything else on that?
That'll get me.
All right. And he said, she said. So I know this is worlds away from Waxahachie, but let's just have fun for a little bit, all right? We got another maybe 7 minutes on this topic, and then we
Hey,
can jump into other stuff.
should we talk eggs real quick?
Oh yeah, why
Listen,
didn't you do your eggs?
because I didn't want to overstep whatever else we were doing.
All right, well let
Can,
Jeff
can you
Jeff.
pull up that egg, the group? Yeah, on the table.
So Jeff's going to tell you in 5 minutes or less, going to tell you his Easter tradition and why we have
I'll
eggs.
do it way less than 5 minutes,
I
but
bet you
it's an
don't.
old Lebanese tradition to do an Easter egg cracking contest. And as long as I can remember all my life growing up, and I know my brothers and sisters have had a Lebanese potluck where they're all doing something on Sunday, and they had one going. Congratulations, Sister Chris, for winning this year's edition. And down at my house with my lovely wife Rita, all of her family is always over at Easter. I mean, our kids from that came from her side is what I'm saying. They've all embraced the and so this year, I thought I'd showcase my eggs a little bit more because I do like dyeing eggs, and you heard me do a poem about eggs last Thursday. And so what I got going on here is, and in that big picture, you'll see those. There's a Sammy egg and a Scott egg there, um, and I got an Alex Ovechkin number 8 egg down there, and then I got a Stars egg, and so that what you're looking at is what my dining room table looked like, and I had a little video. It didn't come out very well.
That's cool. What do you write on them? What is that pen? What is that? Chalk or something?
That is yellow crayon.
Oh,
You
cool.
you can go white and try to hide any color, but I like the yellow. I like the way it jumps out of there.
Alex Ovechkin,
Yeah,
896.
yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well,
So
that's fun. Easter with our kids all grown. Of course, you got grown kids too. You
yeah,
don't have any little ones running around, but you got a family tradition.
yeah. But the grandkids, I wish that video would come. The hooting and hollering when the three little kids are so happy that their dad has defeated his brother,
Yeah.
okay, their uncle, and I mean they're into it, and it's
How old
been
are they?
right now they're 9, 11, and 13.
And was it at your house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's our Easter was pretty quiet. Which is I on one hand we like that. On the other hand, I guess once our grandkids, we have one right now that's going to be one soon, and he's it, man.
Right.
We're keeping him this Friday and Saturday, matter of fact, but uh, he's not old enough to experience Easter.
Right.
So, and with the older kids all going their separate ways, and because they're like Kennedy's family has little kids or younger kids in it. So there's something going like at your place, there's
Mhm.
something going on at those. So it's I think over time we will end up with our own family traditions once the kids are able to help us form them. But I think yours is a lot of fun. How long was everybody over?
They got there at 12:30, and they were there till about 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
And we
Um,
had the big egg hunt in the backyard with the plastic eggs with candy, of course, but paper and jingle jangle
yeah,
money was
yeah.
in some of them.
Sonia and I were looking at a video that showed a family that has a tradition where they put on a table eggs, fake eggs, plastic,
Uh-huh.
with long like shoelaces attached to them. So there may be 25 eggs that are
Okay.
at the front of the table, and each one of them have a shoestring, and the shoestrings are all
Different lengths.
mixed, no,
Oh,
all interwoven. They're mixed together.
okay.
And so the kids, all those eggs have surprises in them. Some of them $20 bills,
Yeah.
some of them candy, some of them other stuff. And so, and over here is a kind of a little wall that doesn't enable them, not that they could figure it out anyway, but you can't see which string is attached to
Okay.
which egg. So each one of the kids, it was their turn. They would come up and they would grab a shoestring thinking it's attached to one of the eggs
Right.
and then pull it slowly. And it would pull the egg that it was attached to, and then that was the egg they got as their surprise. Those kids were having a blast. And
Nice.
they'd open it up, and sure enough, one kid won
And
$20.
they did it every year.
That was their tradition.
And
That
who
may be
and who are
something we
who
do.
are these people to you?
Nobody, just on a video.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
just like
okay,
a
okay.
TikTok video
All right.
probably or Facebook. But I thought that was pretty fun. So All right, there's the egg story. All right, so the Melendez brothers. No, is that Melendez? Is it Menendez? Menendez, yeah, typo. Uh, the Menendez brothers. So in 19, I want to 89 or something like that.
89.
89. Their parents are wealthy. Their dad's a CEO or executive of a broadcast, something in the media.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, yeah, I don't know what their mom did, but she, in Beverly Hills, I guess this fancy, big, beautiful home. You ever been to Beverly Hills?
No.
I know Sammy hasn't. I've been through there a few times, and
Wait,
when
is that where's the Walk of the Stars?
that's in Hollywood.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah,
Beverly Hills is, where they all live, and those houses are so freaking overpriced.
right.
But it's interesting to what you see on TV and then see in person. Sometimes totally different. But so they have their home. They claim now that their dad was molesting them and doing all this stuff to them, and their mother wasn't stopping it, and they were living in this awful environment.
They claim that's what they claimed all along, right?
Yeah, but now they're
Their
defense. Yeah.
rationale.
Yeah, and so, but if you've seen the Menendez story, there's a movie. Sonny and I watched it. I mean, if it's portraying the actual thing, these kids, these boys walk in with shotguns, and it's open season, and they blow their dad away, and then their mom gets injured, and she's not dead. And in the movie, she's kind of, I guess, begging for
So
don't,
this is
and
all
bam.
crime scene reconstruction because nobody saw it, right?
No, nobody saw it, but this, you know how it is. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. I mean,
so so now they've been in prison for that's a long dang time, 11 and 25, 36 years.
36
And
years.
now they're trying to, based on new evidence, which I don't know what that would be. I think it's probably new evidence, but more that substantiates the
I
original.
got a hint on that. Rita did some
Well,
research. The
yeah,
new evidence has to do with letters that he wrote. He had a cousin who had also said he was being abused, and he was advising his cousin to completely stay away from coming to his place because that's just what continues to happen.
yeah,
And so that cousin has come forth. To that fact, I would say this: um, what a terrible thing for that to happen to all three of those boys. But I don't know where you connect the dot that says in 1989 or today or in 1850 or in 2050 coming up
yeah,
that you can ever say because such and such happened to me, I am going to go kill that person.
yeah,
And when it comes to letting them out, I say this: I'm in favor of staying with the era in which a sentence went out and saying, okay, these are the guidelines. We talked before about guidelines.
yeah,
These are our guidelines, and it's called murder without parole, life
yeah,
without parole. And then I don't see where anything changes, particularly because from what I've heard that they're showing in all these different hearings, they're showing no remorse for what they did, and they're clinging tightly to the because of this is
they went
why
from,
we did it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't think so. That's my
yeah,
long-winded
I
answer.
get that.
I'm not. I'm saying no.
Yeah, I get it. For me, it's if you committed murder against someone who you, and the reason you did it was because of what they did to you, will you ever, do you have is the capacity for a human to have remorse? I mean, that's awful what was done to them, if that's what was done to them. And so I wouldn't expect them to have remorse unless they had remorse so as to get out of jail. But if somebody did that to somebody else and it resulted in murder, that's not justification for it, in my opinion.
Right.
However, why would they ever become remorseful? Why would they say, 30 years later, I loved my dad. He abused me. He sexually molested me. He did all this stuff to me, and it's so bad. It was so mean and awful that I murdered him. But today, I feel sorry for him. I'm sorry that I did that to him. I just don't know that the human mind can do anything. but that's not something where you
No, I
come up with
think you
remorse.
confuse where the remorse is. It's not remorse that he would have for his dead parent. Remorse that he would decide that because I was abused, that
That they
means
take that
it's
action.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No remorse in
Okay,
that regard.
got
And
it.
that's the dis
Yeah, I got it. Okay,
and especially if you're on a parole board,
yeah,
well, I'm going, white flag,
right.
I don't see this in that person's
Yeah, I get
heart.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the murder in Frisco. We now know, as the press conference stated clearly, but we've known it before then, that the defense is going to be self-defense, and the self-defense it's offensive, it's laughable, and if who knows what can happen in America in 2025, but I remember being in high school. I remember being on a basketball team in high school where it was my buddies, and that was it. They were my guys, and I got in a fight with one of them, Tony Jackson. I'll never forget him. Uh, Native American Indian. I loved the dude, and we were jawing at each other and elbowing each other in practice, and when it was over, we continued trash talking, and we got in a fight. I, he put his hands on me.
Right.
I didn't stab him. I wouldn't even thought of stabbing him. And the other part of that, and I'll shut up, but self-defense. So I'm a guy. I bring a knife to a track meet. This guy that did it, I'm going to claim I did it in self-defense, and he's a bully. He's bullied me before. But you know what? I go to the track meet, I bring a knife, and I decide to sit in my bully's tent. Something ain't adding up.
No, sir.
That's crazy. All right, so there you have it. Well, we didn't answer the question. Should they be paroled or no?
No.
Okay, no, I'm with you on that one. So anyway, sorry, Menendez brothers. Uh, oh well. All right. So what you got for a poem today?
We're rolling with my prayer list, one of my favorite portions of church, and inspired by a great old family friend from a large family. And now he's the third brother out of 8 brothers and 2 sisters, and now he's the third brother to die of a heart attack. At and he was 67, and so it was an extra special prayer list, adding him to the prayer list on Sunday. And my prayer list, November 8th, 2020. My prayer list is long. It's all in my head. I don't pray for the living, just to the dead. If I know you and you part this earth, on my prayer list, you will gain a berth. Without naming the names, you might call it the Jeff Lynch Hall of Fame. I think those of us who are above watch those of us below. They do more than send their love to those that they know. They have the inside track with the Almighty One. He gives them the choice to get some things done. Many have been gone for a good many years. I like to think my prayers give them heavenly tears. I can almost hear them say, "Goodness, Jeff thought of me today." That he still keeps me in his heart is the sweetest part. So when in a big pine box they do put me in, send a little prayer my way every Sunday. R.I.P. Dan Hurley.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. All right. It's time to rock and roll
Let's
on
go.
history. I'm on
Okay,
a roll. I know
I'm gonna
Sammy's kind of
roll.
on a roll. Uh,
Sam's
how'd
been.
you do today on yours?
I'm 6-1. I'm 6-1.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. The Oklahoma land rush began at noon as thousands of homesteaders staked claims to nearly 1.9 billion acres of land that was formerly part of Indian Territory. By the end of the day, the cities of Oklahoma City and Guthrie were established with as many as 10,000 settlers each.
1888.
1889.
1889.
I got
He
you.
cheated off of me.
That's a bonus.
That's a bonus.
Should have let me go
I
first.
had
Sweet.
72, and
Look at Isaac's pulling for you now, Sammy. You're
that's
getting
good.
all these sympathy votes.
German forces unleashed its first full-scale use of chlorine gas at the start of the Second Battle of Ypres in Belgium during the First World War. Thousands of Allied soldiers were believed to have died from the poison gas attacks. I cannot picture poison gas attacks back in the World
Yeah.
War One.
1934.
I can't remember what World War One does now. 1919.
1915.
Booyah.
I actually
Because
didn't know when
we
World War
we
One.
didn't get in until 17, but it was just like the Second World
Yeah,
War.
yeah,
You know, that
yeah.
been going a couple years before we
Right,
got
yeah.
in. Okay. An estimated 20 million Americans participated in gatherings for the first Earth Day, a series of events proposed by Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin to promote environmental protections. I was at the first Earth Day celebration.
You were.
I was.
So I'm gonna say
1982.
1984.
1970. I was in ninth grade, and I can't remember. Our parents let us go. This was going to be,
Not like a tree hugger convention.
Dang it.
yeah,
Yeah.
first ever annual.
Yeah.
Richard M. Nixon, Milhouse, the 30th president of the United States and the first to resign from office, died at a New York City hospital 4 days after having a stroke. He was 81. Do your do your reverse arithmetic.
Yeah.
Vicky was 4 years off, so that's not bad. 1976.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say, but I'll go 1978.
He didn't leave office about 73. 1994.
No,
Oh man, I didn't know how long he'd lived. That's a long time.
dang.
Vicky's
Well,
with us.
he
Vicky,
just
thanks
told
for
you
being here.
81. You know how I got close on that? I tried to do reverse math on how old I thought he was when he was elected in 68.
Yeah, which I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. I didn't know exactly
That's a good
either.
way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have a system sometimes. In a dramatic pre-dawn raid, armed immigration agents seized 11-year-old
Elian Gonzalez.
Elian
Bonus?
Gonzalez. It was not given out as a bonus. It was not given as a bonus.
That's not right.
The Cuban boy at the center of custody dispute from his relative's home in Miami.
I'm
Eli,
never gonna remember the year.
Elian was reunited with his father at Andrews Air Force Base near Washington.
I know, 2005.
96.
2000.
Ooh,
You still got
we
it.
both got it, Sam. Man, I remember that. He was scared to death. Him in the closet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Closing with the Deepwater Horizon oil platform operated by BP sank into the Gulf of Mexico when it was still called the Gulf of Mexico. Two,
You come around, haven't you?
2 days after a massive explosion that killed 11 workers.
2014.
2011.
2010.
Man, almost got it. All right. Well, 4-2 today.
4-2.
Sweet.
4-2.
4-2, 4-2, 6-1. Pretty good team record.
Yeah, for sure. Doug, who's our said the definition of brash is self-assertive in a rude, noisy, or overbearing way. Read my column tomorrow, Doug, and see if it makes sense to you because he knows that and he does it with joy and unapologetically. So there you have it. Before we
Special shout outs to Doug. I remember when we did our 50th and we had some cake and he was off on travels.
yeah,
He must not have been seeing our
well,
show.
we can give him an egg that have been sitting out for a while. They're tasty.
You want the Ovechkin or you want
Yeah.
the Stars?
There you go. So again, I want to remind you that in tomorrow's Sun, we are announcing a number of changes at the company and with our delivery and our content and our platforms. And a big part of that is some things Jeff and I are going to be doing and Sammy. And we're excited about that and hope that you will support us and be a part of it and follow us and that sort of thing. So if you get a chance, take a look at tomorrow's lead story in the Sun. We'll be talking about it a lot on Thursday. We're probably going through it, probably maybe 40% of the show, but we want to talk about those changes. So Sammy has a feel good video, don't you, Sam? Since it was Easter, we came across this video that I think if you just watch it and let it just experience the feeling that it gives you, it's just it's really it kind of for me it brings me back to a really better place in a hectic, crazy world. You ready, Sam? All right, show it.
Isn't it Jesus, kids, and puppies in one
It's
picture?
Jesus, yeah. But look at it. I mean, it's just. There's some
That's
good
such a
news for you.
Oh.
All right. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you on Thursday.
Remember, don't write cash.